Welcome to What's Up Wednesday, everybody. Last week, I was lucky enough to sit in on a presentation that was um, part of a safety group that I participate in every month. And the speaker was a professor emeritus, a retired professor from the University of Texas Medical School. And he just happens to be an MD and an expert on virology, viruses. So we talked a little bit about COVID, but we talked more about viruses in general and the things that we can do to avoid getting the viruses. Obviously, we talked about vaccination, but it brought up a discussion following the presentation that I thought was very valuable, and I wanted to share the results of that discussion. So the question that I asked is, considering all the things that we're dealing with, RSV, the common flu, the common cold, other viruses, and then we talked a little bit about shingles, and then obviously COVID. And what do we do now? Where are we at now? Obviously, during COVID, we had, for the first time in our lifetimes, we had quarantine requirements where if somebody became ill with COVID, they had to quarantine anywhere from 5 to 10 days and had to have 2 negative tests before they could come back to work. But I think we realized that we've returned to pre-COVID times. And when I say that, the way I define pre-COVID period would be that if you're not too sick to get to work, then get your butt to work. That was kind of the unspoken rule of thumb. And right, wrong, or indifferent, it is what it is, or it was what it was. And I think we've returned to that to an extent where if you're not too sick to come to work, come to work. But at the same time, I think that we all have a realization that coming to work and getting people sick is not necessarily the best approach. Now, I know, ironically, I'm getting over a cold that my son brought home from school last week, and it pretty much laid me out for 2 days. So I stayed away, and I'm one of the lucky few who can work remotely pretty much from anywhere. I can plug in my laptop and I have Wi-Fi. And I would say, as a rule of thumb today, that if somebody gets sick, if they're not feeling well, and they have that remote option, then obviously exercise that remote option until the symptoms are gone or the virus has died down to where you're not contagious, you're not going to bring it to the workplace and get other people sick. It's not good in the workplace to introduce a virus where you see it spread across the workplace, the job site, whatever it may be, and take many people out. Now, I've heard many examples this year of people doing just that, and certain trades or companies having, say, 40 out of 80 people out sick on any given day because this virus spreads across the job. And again, some of that can be prevented, but I asked the question in a post-presentation group that stuck around, how should we approach this as employers? What should we be doing to address this issue of, if you're sick, don't come to work? And I thought that the comment made by a general contractor was fantastic. He said, we talk about it on the job site, we bring the issue up, and we encourage people that if you're not feeling well, to monitor your symptoms and call in the point of contact on the job. It might be on a construction site, it might be a foreman, might be a superintendent, whoever it may be, the safety manager, and let them know what your symptoms are. Give them kind of a temperature, so to speak, on how you're feeling, and then make a determination together whether you should stay home or whether you should come in. And, God forbid we do this, but maybe even wear a mask at work to contain the germs within your mask if you think that you're contagious and you absolutely have to be there at work. But obviously, we learned some things of value during COVID, and I think we could take those with us to find ways that we could prevent outbreaks in our workplaces, in our jobs, where somebody decides that, hey, I can't miss work, I'm coming in and I'm going to get everybody in the office sick. So just something to think about, maybe something to talk about. We are in flu and cold season right now, and the last thing that all of us want is to get sick. So maybe we can be having conversations with our staff about kind of what to do, how to handle that stuff, and maybe even come up with a policy if we need to formalize it. But I thought it was a good discussion topic, something to bring up, and we will see you next Wednesday.